back to Everyday Diesel. Got another how-to video for you here. Going to be installing a set of Boost Auto Lumastep M2 powered running boards. So going to unbox this real quick, show you the components and my first impression on the parts. Again, this is a Boost Auto powered running boards. They've been out for, I think, a while now, not like too long, maybe a year or two. New and improved version of their powered running boards with lights. So it's going to be pretty cool. Of course, you know, on this channel, I like lights. All right, so first thing I'll note is that this packaging is pretty awesome. Huge box. About to see what it looks like inside. All this stuff isn't going to fit on this little piddly table. I'm going to have to fix that. This is the bracket box. Looks like some hardware as well. This is the control module that goes under the hood. Just a little box that we will mount under the hood that controls the steps. Everything's labeled too. I'll make that note. So this is the primary wiring harness, and we'll go over all this too. Looks like they supply some zip ties. There it is. There are the brackets. Now, these things are beefy. A lot bigger than I expected before I got these. The motors for the board seem to be way beefier than I've seen some others out there. It's all metal too, I believe. Here's what one of them looks like. They have these little rollers, which I think is a pretty cool feature that this arm actually rolls out on, and I'll show you. These are all labeled. Driver front, passenger rear, passenger front, driver rear. Here's one of the rear brackets that doesn't have the motor on it, so you can kind of see how this works. Just that's how it works, and it rolls on that roller. Pretty happy with the way this looks. These are support brackets that come with the kits. Once you install the, well, we'll go over the installation, but these are support brackets. They're also labeled. These kits are made to go on 2010 through 2018. Ram 1500 through 3500s. So with that being said, these are pretty sure these brackets are get used on all the cab configurations and the different trucks. So we'll go over all that as well. All right, now we're going to move on to the actual running board box. I'm going to do this one-handed. So here's what you got. Again, very nice packaging. Looks like we got some wiring harnesses. I believe this is a harness for the lighting. This is also a harness for the lighting. These steps come with various configurations on lighting, and I'll go over that here in a second. It's more this is how you plug into your headlights. It's a plug and play deal to get the lighting functions for the boards. I'm gonna have a link in the description for these running boards to Boost Auto's website. Like I said, there's multiple variations for the lighting that you can choose from. You can get these boards without lighting if you don't want lights down the side of the truck. But you can get them where they run white or they run amber. You can get them to where they do turn signals. They also have a turn signal function where it traces down the board if you like that. They have a rock light function to where you can turn them on with the truck off if you want to, like, you know, for like at a show or something. Okay, so I could utilize my little miniature table here that's still pissing me off from the beginning of this video. Put the brackets back in the box so I can show you the steps. Just got the one out right now, obviously. So these are the longest steps that they make, I believe, obviously, since we have a mega cab. One thing that I did opt for that is also an option on the website is step pads. I believe there's 3 different designs. I went with the triangles step pads. So it's like a nice foam pad, almost like what you would see on like boats and the jet skis or stuff like that. If I tilt this back, you can see that strip right there is the light. Again, looking forward to these. Looks like some kind of a track set up here so that you can adjust them side to side on the brackets. So yeah, guys, these are looking pretty sweet. I'm super excited to get started on this project. So now that we've got unboxing done, let's get to it. All right, it's a fresh day. Let's get after it. First thing we gotta do, take off these factory steps. Okay, super easy. No real explanation needed for that. 8 bolts per side, 2 10 mils and 2 13 mils on each bracket. Got the steps off. Now, if you're like me, you've always wanted to take your steps off of your truck, but you left them on there because you have a family and you have, well, to be honest, why slide out of your truck and mess up your seat and all that? I mean, you know, it's a sacrifice if you don't like the look of a step, but I always kept them on there because they don't look that bad. Obviously, the solution is what we're doing here today is power steps. So they tuck up out of the way so you can't really see them, and then fold down when you need them. The next thing that you're going to want to do is your brackets. You're going to lightly, or I guess loosely, install your 4 brackets. The motor brackets go on the front, and the motorless brackets go on the back. These brackets are universal for mega cabs or quad cabs. They do have different mounting locations. Obviously, I'm showing you how it goes on a mega cab, but again, these same brackets, the same kit works on the non-mega cab trucks as well. With that being said, let me come over here to my bench where I have everything laid out. If you have a 4th gen truck, whether you're half ton, 3/4 ton, or 1 ton, there's 2 different mounting options for your brackets, and you'll know which one you have when you go to take off your old steps, or if you just crawl under the truck and look. In my case, this is what I'm going to be using, not this. If your truck has threaded holes for the factory steps, meaning there's like nut certs in the body of the truck to accept bolts, this is all you need. Install your brackets. We're going to use some of the bolts out of here too. If you don't have threaded holes and you have just regular through holes where you are going to need you know, a bolt and a nut, this is what you use. What they supply you with is these nifty brackets. The bag comes labeled too, 4 through hole, 4 thread hole. So I mean, it's super easy. I'm not going to show you this because my truck isn't equipped with it, but you can find Boost Auto actually has a really good video on YouTube. I'll link that as well. Boost Auto's instructions are on YouTube. So what I'm going to do myself, even while I film this video, I'm going to have their video up on my TV in the shop. These brackets are really basic, super simple to install, but it'll never hurt being sure, following the instructions on what hardware to use. That way you don't install the wrong bolt in the wrong spot. Got the 2 front brackets installed, hanging on the truck, driver front and the passenger front. Next, before we go to the rear brackets, we're going to install the supporting brackets for the both front installation brackets. So these are labeled as well. You can see that's PF. You also see that's DR. That's just because the driver rear is the same bracket. So driver front, passenger front. So I'm going to take these 2 and get these installed now. The hardware for these is all of this right here. I got everything kind of organized and washered already. Lock washer, flat washer. These are the 13 mils, and these are 10 mils. Lock washer, flat washer. Obviously 2 per bracket, total of 8 of each size. These all get used for that supporting bracket I just showed you. Okay, so we are sitting here on the passenger front bracket, and I'm going to explain this one, and then I'll time lapse the other 3. Because it really only needs to be explained once. So the support bracket is going to go, it's going to bolt right through here. And then it's also going to utilize these 2 bolts right here, which your factory steps also utilized. So obviously you got to make sure these holes are in good condition. If your truck's a little on the rusty side and these things don't look too good, you might want to figure something out there. But we're good. So we're going to install the passenger front. So it's got 2 threaded deals welded on there. That is going to be for this side and for your 13 millimeter bolts. And then these holes is what goes right there. You utilize this along with 10 millimeter bolts on that one. All right, we're going to slide this up in here like so. Okay, I got the one started. Again, these have lock washers and flat washers on them. All you need is a 13 mil and a 10 mil. I prefer ratcheting wrenches. One thing to make sure you do on this is snug everything up. Do not tighten everything as you go, because adjustments will be necessary once you go to put the actual steps on these brackets. All right, and then you use this guy and these bolts. Put this on the back side here. Thread these in. On. And got that one finally started. Okay, now that's feeling a lot more sturdy, of course, now that everything's connected. Oh yeah, still has some play, so we can tighten that up later. got to make a quick note here about the rear mounting brackets. So this is the passenger rear. There's 2 sets of holes for mounting on this bracket. Depending on the configuration of your truck, determines which ones you use. If you have a 4-door truck or like an extended cab truck, quad cab, these are the mounting holes that you're going to use, the outer mounting holes. If you have a mega cab, like what I'm doing right now, the holes here that are lined up with the deployment arm, that's the holes that you're going to use on a mega cab only. Okay, here's one more note I'm gonna make. This might sound confusing, but I promise you it's not. Plus, if you've already done your front brackets, like I've done in this video, you're already familiar with how these install, so it will make sense. Which side these goes on depends on the configuration of your truck. So quad cab, crew cabs, you're gonna follow the directions that are on the brackets. So driver rear will go to the driver rear, passenger rear will go to the passenger rear. Mega cabs only, so in my case here, you actually flip these. The one labeled DR is going to go to the passenger rear. The one labeled PR is going to go to the driver rear. Again, you've already done your front mounts. You should be familiar with how these install, both with the threaded side going on the mounting bracket and the through holes with the plate going into the existing holes on the truck. Once you get these in there, flip-flopped for a mega cab, if you are doing a mega cab, it should make sense. Okay, here's what they should look like, the rear mounts. Once you're all done, this is the passenger rear. So you can see kind of how that looks and how everything's oriented. And then here is the driver rear. All right, so it's time to move on to wiring. Already unrolled this, that's why it looks like crap, but basically these 2 harnesses are almost the same. I'll explain. You might look at this and think that it's a little overwhelming. It's really not. I'm gonna try to explain it the best way that I can, the way that I understand it. And again, this is gonna apply to my 2014 Mega Cab more than some other trucks. Some other trucks are gonna be different. Boost Auto does, I think one of the main differences is the reference for the steps to fold down when you open the door. Different year trucks tap into that signal in different ways. I think there's 3 different ways. On this truck, go into 2 wires on the OBD harness. So up underneath the driver's side of the dash. So let's start from the very beginning here. This is your main harness. These are your 2 sub harnesses for the lighting. If you get the Boost Auto steps, the power steps that do not have the lights, then you're not going to have these harnesses. You're just going to have this one. Also, dependent on what truck you have, is where the taps come from for the lighting functions. And also what type of lighting functions you choose. The steps have multiple variations of lighting that you can choose from turn signals to switchback, blah, blah, blah. My truck had the factory LED projectors. So it has the 14-pin harness. So what this is, these are 14-pin harness, basically jumpers. Unplug the harness off the back of the headlight, plug this in the middle of that. Then this right here goes to each one of these harnesses, respectively, driver, passenger, and that's how you get lighting function to the steps. So now that you understand what these are, I'm going to move on to the main harness. So the main harness, you have your 2 plugs right here that go to the actual motors. So they're labeled passenger side motor, driver side motor. So that's super self-explanatory. This main big harness right here, this is what connects into your control box. This gets mounted under your hood, somewhere dry and relatively clean. I'm gonna put mine around my driver's side, around my driver's side battery. So this plugs into this. This right here are signal wires. This is where you get your signal, and it says signal input. This is where you get your signal for the steps to deploy and retract. These, and again, in my case, on my truck, are gonna tap into 2 wires on the OBD harness. We'll get to that when we get to it. So this passes through the firewall from this main harness right up under your dash. Should be very simple. And then lastly, on this main harness is just a power and ground. So along with, the majority of this wiring harness is going to be under the hood. You have your positive and your negative battery cables. You have your signal harness that goes through the firewall. And then you have your 2 harnesses that go down to the steps. So these are going to be your longest leads. Obviously, the passenger side one's going to be a little bit longer, I believe, so that you can make it across the cowl and then down the fender liner to the steps. So you get that out of the way, you get these out of the way. These are your lighting harnesses. So one of them has a power and ground, because you got to have power and ground to supply power to the lights. So this is going to be up under the hood, probably right alongside your main harness. Power and ground on the battery. This guy right here, this is how this harness communicates and sends power to this harness. You can see this is the female, this is the male. So you'll connect these under the hood as well. Your shorter run right here, which is your 3-pin. I don't know if you can see that. Not really. But yeah, this is your 3-pin connector. This is what plugs into your headlight, just like that. So that plugs into the headlight. So that's why it is a lot shorter. It just needs to go from the battery area to your headlight. Same thing on this side. This goes to the passenger headlight. This goes to your driver headlight. And then the end of this, which is the much longer lead here, probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 foot or so. These two plugs, along with this main plug, go down your fender liner to the steps. So your step motors will have a harness that you connect this into. And then if you have the light up version of these steps, you will also have wires coming off of there that these will connect to. And that's really it. I hope that wasn't too butchered. I'll try to explain it better as I'm doing it. So I'm going to get busy on the wiring. I'm going to take breaks here and there to kind of show you my progress. The wiring part of this is definitely going to be the most daunting task of this whole deal. The brackets, super easy. You can have them done in an hour or less. Running the wiring is going to be the most difficult part. And the only reason I say that is because there is a decent amount of wiring. It's nothing crazy. Mainly what it comes down to is how much time and effort are you willing to put into making the wiring under the hood nice. So Boost Auto supplies you with all the necessary wiring. It's all there for a reason. You need it to make the steps function. You need it to make the steps light up and function the way that the lights are supposed to function. It's up to you to route the wiring to where it doesn't look like crap when you pop your hood. I'm sure that you can relate. You know, I've popped hoods on trucks and seen just wiring nightmares because they had, 3 or 4 different electrical, modifications or accessories, and they just, go the cheapest and easiest route possible with their wiring. You could certainly make this look like crap if you don't put a whole lot of effort into it, but so that's why I say it's the hardest part, because if you put in the effort and the time it's going to take to make the wiring look good under the hood of a 4th gen, which is already pretty heavily, it's got a lot going on here, whether you are deleted or not. Like me, for example, I already have rock lights on this truck. I have firewire safety lighting in the grill. So my cowl already has a decent amount of lights or a decent amount of wires going across the cowl. So we're about to add to that. I'm going to do the best I can to not make it look like crap when you pop the hood. All right, everybody, we're in the middle of the wiring. It may look like a mess. That's because it is. So real quick, I'm going to show a trick that you're going to probably, well, you're not probably going to need to use. You are going to need to use this trick. So I have the wiring ran down the driver's side of the truck over the top of the fender liner and spitting out the bottom where it needs to be for the lighting hookup and the motor hookup. This would be the lighting harness, and this right here would be the motor harness. Obviously, again, I know this is a mess. Kind of just mocking everything up right now where it's going to be. We'll start cleaning everything up once stuff is ran. So you're going to want to run this wiring. I'll show you. Down the fender liner. So you can see up in there. If I can get this thing to focus. So there you can kind of see where the wire is coming down onto the ground here. There is no good way to fish your arms down in there to get that in there. So I'm going to show you real quick what you have to do. You need to get yourself some kind of wire like this, something sturdy enough that it won't just bend. This is just like some galvanized steel wire from a parts store. Get you a piece about, 4 or 5 foot long. What I have found works nicely is, it's not going to focus probably, but put a little bend in the end of it. And what you're going to want to do is get down there on the ground, fish this thing up where you want the wires to be ran. Come back up in here, find where this is sticking up out at, pull it the rest of the way up. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the 2 harnesses that we need down there. We're gonna take the plug-ins and we're gonna tape those plug-ins to this wire with some electrical tape. And then feed it back down there as best you can. Get back down here on the ground and start pulling on this, on the opposite end of this wire, and it will pull the harnesses that you need right where you need them. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining it well enough that you get the idea. In this case, I have a WC Fab coolant tank, which is actually more in the way for this side than a factory coolant tank would be. Factory coolant tank sits more in this area rather than tucked in this corner, so you'd be able to go down that way. I'm gonna have to go around the coolant tank and down the fender liner that way. All right, making some progress here. Got the passenger side wires fished down through the inner fender well, and I did actually manage to get them around the coolant tank on this deal, so that's worked out good. I'm gonna try to get you in here. I'm holding this thing on a tripod. Right now we got the passenger headlight out, as you can see. These are aftermarket headlights, so there's wiring to make those work with the factory harness. So getting ready to install this thing right here. Here's the wire that I have ran from the harness up there. This is what's going to control the lighting portion of the steps. So basically just ran it. I took the battery out from around the coolant tank, behind the battery box, down into the fender. Let's see here, plopping it out right there. I mean, it's perfect. They made these the perfect length. Actually, the one complaint that I have is this wiring harness is really long. I understand it's universal, but man, I'm gonna have to do a lot of coiling. I mean, just as an example, you can see how much wire that I have fished out here. And it connects right there where that step is, or where that bracket is. That's where the motor is, and you can see the wiring right there. That's the lighting wiring. So all this is going to be coiled up under the truck somehow. So that's my only complaint so far. Not a huge deal. Factory projector style LED headlight truck, so like Laramie's and stuff. 13 to 18 is what this is going to apply to. It might apply to others, but that's what I know it applies to. 14-pin connector. We're just going to unconnect, figure out how to disconnect this guy here. Okay, got that unplugged there. Actually, looks like we got some corrosion here, so I'm glad I'm finding this so I can get in there and clean that. Okay, and it's going to be as simple as plugging that in there till you hear a click. Plugging that in there. Taking this guy. These have little gaskets on them, and they're kind of barely on there. So just make sure it doesn't roll. All right, awesome. This, I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. So it's not used in this application. So basically, throw your headlight back in at this point. I might leave it out actually to test to make sure everything works. We'll see. I'm gonna go do the other side off camera. It's the same thing. Okay, it is time for a little update. We are getting ready to install the boards. Everything is pretty much done. I'm going to show you the wiring, try to explain it the best I can visually. So I know I already talked about on the passenger side and showed you guys where you have to hook up to your headlights for the lighting functions. So you bring those wires across here. Here is the main harness and the little computer box. This is where I'm putting them for now. Obviously, since I've already ran my wiring, that's where it's going to stay, but I might fix it a little bit better. We have the power wire for the steps right here. We have the power wire right here for the lights. Same thing on the negative. 2 negatives hooked up as well. I've pretty much tucked all the wiring as best I can along the cowl here, a little bit down in here. The driver's side headlight was ran through here. When you take these headlights out, you will notice up in the fender there's tons of room. It's super easy to hide harnesses in the fender. So don't get sloppy and just run your harness down through here. I mean, you certainly can, but why not hide it if you can? So I started back behind this bracket, went into the fender, all the way to the headlight. Real quick, I'll show you where the wire comes through. You can see it right there in the middle of the screen. I poked a little hole in the rubber boot for the transmission gear selector cable that runs through there. It's still sealed up very well. And right there are our taps on the OED. So that is the signal wire to deploy and retract the steps. Very easy. I shortened the cable too because they give you a ton of cable. So all right, so we're now ready to put the boards on the steps. Last hardware pack you should have is it's 8 like carriage style bolts. They slide into the step. I'll show you that in a second. And then 8 nuts as well. You're gonna install the bolts onto the board onto the brackets. I have the brackets loose. We're gonna actually tighten the board, center it, adjust it, tighten it tight first, and then go through and tighten all the fasteners on the brackets that actually bolt it to the truck. Okay, got the board here on the table. I just wanna make one more note here. If you did opt for the boards that have the lights in them, you're gonna have an end cap on each board that has a module that takes your 2 connectors. One connector here, one connector here. That is what some of those wires are for down there. Make sure that you orient the steps correctly on the truck. You obviously want the side that has the plug-ins to be forward on both steps. So each board requires 2 bolts. So we're simply going to run them in here. There it is, all done. These are badass. So easily the best looking power steps on the market. Super clean way to get some extra lighting on your truck if you want the lighted version. They blink when you unlock, they blink when you lock. I got the lights turned on right now. Yeah, these things work fantastic. I still got wiring to put up, but we don't need to show that. I'm just gonna bundle it up and tuck it up in there as best I can. That's awesome. These things are nice. Real quick, I wanna kinda go over the tools that you'll need to do this job. It's all really basic, all stuff that you should have. Several items on here, not 100% necessary. Probably the only thing that you're gonna wanna go out and buy if you don't have it is some kind of wire, steel wire that you can bend and form to help pull the harnesses where they need to go. So yeah, your main tools that you're gonna need are gonna be a 10mm and a 13mm ratcheting wrench. You can use regular wrenches or I think there's room for a socket and a ratchet, but that's definitely the easiest and best thing to use for all the bracketry. This 8mm is just for the battery. A couple different ratchets for up around the battery and just removing stuff around the headlights. Ratcheting wrench, battery, obviously if you have it, it helps speed things up, not necessary. Zip ties, flush cuts, electrical tape to be able to tape the harnesses to the wire, and just miscellaneous screwdriver. This is what I use to poke the hole in the rubber grommet to feed the signal wire through the firewall. If you look in there, the hole was very small and then I pushed the wire through it and you can't even tell that there was a hole there. It's a lot better than trying to use a drill or anything else to create that hole. Pair of pliers for a couple of the connections. Tape measure to measure the steps and get them perfectly centered on both brackets. And yeah, that's really about it. Oh, I used one of these guys right here to help grab the metal wire on the driver's side because I couldn't reach it. But other than that, that's really all you need. All right, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you found it useful. I like making these how-to videos on stuff that I'm putting on my trucks. Huge thank you to the guys at Boost Auto for partnering with me on this video and on these M2 Lumasteps. It was fun installing them. Very easy. It's actually been about 2 months since I filmed that video. I kind of wanted to make sure that the steps held up. I've also been really busy, as you can see behind me. Race truck is put back together. But 2 months so far, they are flawless, 0 problems. They work great. They look great. I've gotten tons of compliments on them. So guys, if you're looking at getting some steps, definitely check out Boost Auto. I think, my honest opinion, they easily have the nicest power step on the market. All metal motors, the beefiest brackets. They retract in and out fast, smooth. The lights seem to work great. Overall, they're very well constructed, and I'm not just saying that. One more thing I want to mention about Boost Auto real quick. They just announced recently that they are now offering paint matching for their products. Not on the steps, but for most, if not all, their other products that they offer, specifically mirrors, cab lights, stuff like that. If you're going to be ordering stuff from Boost Auto, you know, mirrors is a good example. You can order them paint matched directly from them. They have invested in paint booths and top-of-line equipment, so you can supply them with the color of your truck or the color that you want them to get done in, and they will come to you paint matched, ready to install, pretty much taking that whole step, you know, away from you having to mess with it if you're going to get them paint matched anyway, like most of us do. I'm certainly going to look into it for the mirrors on my Mega Cab because they're just factory mirrors. So it would be cool to have them paint matched to match, so I'm going to consider that. Maybe you'll see that in a future video, I'm not sure. UCC is right around the corner. It's literally a week and a half away. I'm going to be there. Feel free to come out and check out the trucks. We're going to be doing some racing. The Mega Cab will be there if you want to see the steps in person. If this video helped you at all, drop a like, drop a comment. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.